As we've all become aware of the implications of climate change, the NHS can and wants to do more to promote sustainability. By learning from good practice across the health and public sectors, all NHS organisations can work towards a healthier, more sustainable future for the communities it serves. Upgrading existing hospital buildings with energy-saving devices can also have a significant impact on energy consumption and therefore on carbon emissions. Improvements that NHS organisations can undertake include changes to the building fabrics, such as insulation, and additions that improve operational efficiency, such as motion sensor lighting and building management systems. In this programme, we hear the views of Dr. David Pension, Director of the NHS Sustainable Unit, who tells us how NHS organisations can work towards creating a healthier, more sustainable future for the communities it serves. John Cole, Chief Executive of Health Estates in Northern Ireland, explains why the NHS address sustainability when it comes to their existing healthcare buildings and new builds. We also hear from Cyril Sweet, Ryder Levitt Bucknell and E.ON, who explain how they've helped the NHS promote sustainability and to make NHS buildings better places to work and treat patients.
The future is very positive. We absolutely have got to be positive about this. Not because the alternative is, scary. It's just that for the health service, there are so many good opportunities for making a sustainable healthcare service. It's not as if we've got to do this despite delivering a cost-effective healthcare today. A high-quality healthcare system is entirely compatible with a sustainable healthcare system. Sustainability will be the catalyst that will actually drive many of the changes that many of us have been trying to put together for decades. But the onus, the economic onus of sustainability will give us that impetus, I think, to deliver really good changes for patients, really good at promoting health, preventing illness, taking care closer to home, making care much more cost effective, and ultimately making it a better society for us all to live in. And that's what the health service was set up to do in the first place. And 60 odd years later, it's doing a really good job at doing this. And sustainability, climate change is yet another challenge. And I'm absolutely convinced we'll meet that challenge head on and we'll end up with a much better health service.
Ryder Levitt Bucknell are a global company which provides services in quantity surveying, project management and asset management. We came together in 2007 as a conglomeration of three major practices in the regions of Oceania, which is Australia and New Zealand, Southeast Asia, USA, and ourselves in the UK and Europe. We seek to add value by a series of advisory services which we feel are fitting and proper for the 21st century in the marketplace. Sustainability is important for anybody that builds capital projects. We all know that the world's resources are finite, and we all know that the construction industry basically provides infrastructure for virtually everybody in the world. So therefore we're a major user of the world's resources. And we have, particularly as time's going on, we have to be very much aware of that particular situation. So firstly, the NHS, as a major capital user of capital buildings, needs to be very, very aware of the sustainability aspect, the carbon reduction aspect. Now, in addition to that, the NHS has got some very special problems in the UK and in the world around due to demographics, due to the economy and lack of availability. Consequently, sustainability normally means increased efficiency, and it's very, very important that the NHS concentrates very hard on those. The services that Ryder Levitt Bucknell can provide and do provide to the National Health Service is based upon a knowledge of cost management and project management and delivering excellent value from what I might call the new build sector and the demands of the new build sector. The service is therefore, everything we do for the National Health is based upon these core services, and we must maintain strong capability in that area and will do so. There is, however, an additional series of services that we think become very relevant, which build upon that strong core. The first one is a more collaborative approach to the design and construction of new build. The main objective in efficiency improvement in any sector, but particularly the National Health Services, is to drive out waste and rework, and thus bring better value. We believe and have got a lot of experience now and techniques of making collaborative deliver better value to the client. So that's very important, but that is implicit on the new build sector. The national health, the main part of the national health asset base is existing buildings. And in this day when, as I say, there are economic pressures, there's customer choice coming in now, it is vital that the national health, is able to improve the stock and make it more fit for purpose for the 21st century that we're in. We have a number of building surveyors who are really asset managers, and from that we think we can help deliver an improved existing building stock which is more fit for purpose for the 21st century. Energy performance certificates are the building construction industries and the property industries equivalent of the traffic light systems that are labelled on many of the appliances we have in our homes and our offices, and not dissimilar from the traffic light system that is in the car showroom showing the energy performance of the cars. They are created by an analysis of the existing building, by analysing the heat use and heat loss, and giving a grading between red for not very efficient and green for very efficient. And that is a useful thing for anybody to be able to see, just as they can with their appliances, whether the building they're going into, using and occupying is efficient. I think there's an important point that comes from it. By doing this basic service, we think we give a great opportunity to the National Health and anybody else to be able to then provide services that can improve the performance of that building and take it, shall we say, from red to a more efficient operational capacity. I believe that if we use the techniques that we have developed over the years, we can give our customers an edge. That's our job, to enable their business to have an edge over their competitors. And often that has been thought of in the past as just being cheaper and maybe quicker. But there is a very, and everybody talks about it, but it's important, a balance between quality and time and cost. That really, the sustainable part of that is the most important one. Because if everything we do is more efficient, then it's more sustainable. And that is the thing that we're looking for. So I would say that the biggest thing that we would be able to do now is to be able to link capital cost and running costs in a dynamic and common sense kind of a way, and be able to deliver better value that way. Well, our core values are based upon a very strong offering in project management, quantity surveying and asset management, and that will always be the case. The added value that we wish to build upon that is by listening to customers, and in the new build sector by using the collaborative techniques that we've built up over the years to deliver better value. On the existing building, I think it is using our asset management base to improve and make sure that their stock is better suited for 21st century operation.
In relation to design quality in our buildings, that can't be attained unless you're actually achieving what the end user wants. So the involvement and full consultation with the key users of the building is very, very important, and we always bring the staff along with us in that process. But not only the staff, it's very, very important to focus on the needs of the patient and the members of the public, and we bring representatives along to get those views as well. The attributes that we find that most people are looking for when we take the brief for a building are daylight, not enclosed dark corridors with low ceilings, space that people don't feel intimidated by buildings, or they don't feel enclosed, that they can see views to outside. We incorporate art into our buildings to try and lift the spirits of those people. The space standards is very important. Control over the environment that's not overly hot or overly cold. Natural wayfinding, that people can actually find their way around buildings without having to look at a myriad of signs, but can find it naturally. And landscaping outside the building, very, very important, not just inside the building. So all of those aspects, use of colour, the use of texture, the use of appropriate materials, use of human scale, all of these things contribute towards creating buildings that people can actually relate to and don't feel that they're being processed, but feel it at a much more human scale.
Cyril Sweet are a major top 10 construction consultancy, and we advise the NHS for anything from conventional projects and right through to major procurement programs for Procure 21, the LIFT programme, PFI and PPP. The business has a very large number of consultants, And we deliver anything from feasibility work, health planning, sustainability consultancy, cost work, right through the delivery of the building and its commissioning, and finally post-project evaluation.
The key to delivering sustainable buildings is to ensure that they are adaptable and flexible in the face of changes, so that you don't find yourself in the position of jettisoning what would otherwise be perfectly good buildings. When you make a major capital investment, you're really looking at a building which has at least a 25-year lifespan. And as we all know, over 25 years, there are likely to be major service changes and also external environmental pressures that come through legislation or changes in policy areas, sorts of things we've already seen in transport and waste management. And the building needs to be able to deal with those effectively. The principles which we apply at Cyril Suite are all focused around the need to look at the life cycle of an asset and not just concentrate on the initial capital investment. This approach is consistent whether we're looking at a new building or a building that's already in use. And there are three key areas which we always address. Service transformation is centred on the model of care which the organisation wants to achieve, and that's really at the heart of everything that we do. We work with the client to really understand what it is they're trying to achieve, and then to collaboratively benchmark that service against practice elsewhere in the NHS. So for example, working with the West London Mental Health Trust on the development at St Bernard's Hospital, we have visited with them a number of other NHS organisations which have been through a similar transformation process and have moved into new buildings, so that we're able to incorporate the lessons which they have learned into the plans for St Bernard's. Flexibility and sustainability really need a building which can be used as much as possible throughout the week, and we know that underutilisation of buildings can be a problem for the NHS. So our role is to work with the NHS to ensure that as many partners as possible are brought together into any new development or even an existing building. So a good example of that would be in Southampton, in our work on the Wellbeing Centre, where we were able to work with the client right across the statutory sector and the third sector to ensure that as many partners as possible will come together to deliver the service and make sure the building is in active use throughout the week.
Designing in accordance with the Green Guide to Specification and reducing waste through good design and good on-site management will play an important part in reducing the environmental impact of projects and will make good economic sense too. Initiatives such as the Waste and Resource Action Programme, WRAP, do bring good benefits but need to be more widely applied within the NHS. But perhaps the most significant decisions will be around energy, where the options fall into two broad categories: reduced energy consumption and low impact energy generation. The solutions that prove economically viable are likely to vary between community facilities and acute.
In any building, it can be quite important from an investment and a life cycle point of view to zone activities. So for example, in an acute hospital, we would always try to concentrate high-tech, highly serviced areas. That gives the users much more flexibility over time as service models change. It also makes it easier to maintain the infrastructure and develop the infrastructure in those areas and separate those from areas which have a lower servicing need, so for example office areas. And this is a principle which we've tried to incorporate in our planning work at the Royal Sussex County Hospital, where they're enhancing the site with a number of services right across the range, from neurosurgery through to office and teaching areas.
A good example of an acute project is Phase 2B of the Royal Victoria Hospital in Belfast, which is a £100 million critical care and trauma centre designed by Capita Architecture and Scott Wilson. The challenge was to limit the environmental impact of a building of this nature, and the client's brief was to achieve both BREEAM and NEAT excellent ratings and to exceed building regulations. A range of options were considered, and those that proved economically viable were implemented. In terms of energy reduction, the design features a griffin corridor to the outside of the ward templates as a separation from the external envelope to control heat gain and loss. The U values of the external envelope significantly improve on current regulations. We have low velocity ventilation systems with high levels of heat recovery and power perfector units to optimise load distribution across electrical systems. In terms of low impact energy generation, we have solar panels and ground source heat pumps to provide base heat load, combined heat and power, CHP, as part of a separate central energy centre, and photovoltaic panels for electricity generation.
So to sum up, the sustainability targets in the NHS, I think, are certainly here to stay, and I suspect over time will become more important. It's also the case that these targets are likely to change, as do so many other issues to do with policy. And as things change, then obviously so the solutions have to change. The challenge, I think, can be met, providing we integrate these solutions with the challenge of providing excellent care and affordability. And I think if we use the whole life route of looking at the project right from the beginning to its very end, I think it can be delivered. I think Cyril Squeet are very well equipped to deal with these future challenges, look at the solutions and to continue to deliver them.
It's important to understand how a health service uses its resources, and especially uses their resources in a way that's sustainable. So if you measure the carbon footprint, which is one way of looking at sustainability, if you measure the carbon footprint of a large organisation like the health service, you'll see it's divided into various chunks like energy and transport and buying materials. Energy is a particularly interesting one because we can measure energy very easily, just like we can at home, because we get a bill for it. And it's very important because it's one of the things you can measure and thus manage. So anything that's measurable is manageable. So energy innovations like combined heat and power, which is used quite extensively in the health service, is really good when it's used properly and when it's titrated against the need of a hospital. And the health service has invested many tens of millions of pounds in putting in that new sort of technology over the last 10 years, which has been a great success. However, there's much more that can be done. For instance, many other countries in the world have a lot of combined heat and power, which are essentially little mini power stations inside hospitals, but they don't use it with their communities. So, for instance, in Stockholm, many big hospitals have combined heat and power, and it's used to heat cinemas and schools and housing estates within the city. Now, that's had a radically positive influence on helping the citizens of Stockholm reduce their per capita carbon footprint. So we've done well in this country, but we could do even more. The other thing that's important about energy measurements is that energy is only about 1/5 of the carbon footprint of the NHS, which is quite small. When you ask most people, they'd say, well, it's the majority, but it's not. It's quite a relatively small fraction. It's big in absolute terms, but it's a relatively small fraction. So it's great that we're making headway on energy, because that's what you can measure and what you can manage and you can see progress, and we've done that. But actually there's still 4/5 of the NHS carbon footprint, which is much more challenging to both measure and manage, which we've got to get to grips with pretty soon, because we've got fairly ambitious targets if we're going to be compliant with the government's Climate Change Act to reducing emissions by 80% by 2050.
E.ON UK are one of the UK's leading integrated power and gas companies. We generate and distribute electricity and retail power and gas, and we're part of the E.ON Group, the world's largest investor-owned power and gas company. With mounting pressure on hospitals and other healthcare facilities to reduce their energy bills, coupled with the need to reduce their carbon footprint, E.ON UK develop and supply combined heat and power systems, which when added to existing generation equipment makes good financial sense. Combined heat or power, or CHP, is the use of a single technology to produce both heat and power. Conventional generation tends not to be able to do that from one piece of equipment, and its conversion of energy is not as efficient as CHP. CHP can be up to 90% thermal efficient. E.ON CHP own a number of CHP assets around the UK, Over the last 15 years we've invested nearly £500 million in CHP schemes, and we own and operate these for various clients such as chemical works, paper mills, NHS schemes. There's a number and a range of clients. The NHS is one of the largest employers in Europe, and particularly here at Queen's Medical Centre, which is the largest hospital in the UK, it's really important that they play their part in reduction of carbon. We have this target of 60% reduction by 2050, and CHP with its high thermal efficiency is a key component to allow the National Health Service to meet its carbon reduction targets. It needs, I think, to be and is setting the standard for this in this area. Our CHP plants provide over 570 megawatts of electricity to our clients and nearly 1,000 megawatts of heat. CHP, as part of the UK infrastructure, supplies around 6% of the total electricity in this country, and the government's latest figures suggest that there is a potential heat demand of 10 gigawatts in the UK, so there is plenty of places where CHP can continue to be developed and used in this country, and it's a key part of meeting our carbon challenge. Queen's Medical Centre is a shining example of forward thinking in using CHP to meet our carbon challenge, and I think there's plenty of room for other hospitals and health authorities to follow suit in this country. As well as having the CHP scheme here at Queen's Medical Centre, we have a similar size scheme at St James Hospital in Leeds. It's run on a very similar basis. We also have a similar size plant supplying heat and power to a company called New Farm in Bradford. These tend to be the smaller end of our CHP business, and we have a number of other plants up to 300 megawatts supplying various other clients around the UK. E.ON UK are well placed to help the NHS in meeting its carbon target. We're very keen and eager to work with people like the NHS, being inventive as possible in meeting this very difficult challenge, but a challenge I do believe is possible to meet. And we can be as inventive as possible in trying to meet that challenge. It's not an easy challenge, but we're well placed and we're very keen and eager to be able to work with people like the NHS to make CHP a key part of the strategy going forward. We work with the NHS on many levels. The operators here are employed by QMC, Queen's Medical Centre, and we work very closely together at all levels in the relationship we have with the NHS. So here at QMC, as you can see, the QMC staff operate this asset, but we're well placed to offer them support. So if the plant has a technical issue, our guys are on call and will attend site as soon as they can. In addition, we're also looking at ways of improving the carbon performance of this plant even now it's installed. So we have done several modifications over the years that have taken the plant on to improve it even further. Here at E.ON UK we're very proud of the fact that we were the first to install a CHP scheme at an NHS site, and we think there's a great deal to be gained from exploring potential opportunities in other assets as well. You know, CHP is a fantastic way of helping this country to try and meet the challenge of carbon going on into the future, and personally that's an issue that's got to be close to everybody's heart, and we're very proud to work alongside the NHS and many other organisations in meeting this challenge. There is huge potential, and we'd encourage anybody interested in playing their part and being more cost effective, because this is a cheaper way of providing heat and power, to come and talk to us, because we feel we can play our part and help anybody in this challenge.
We hope this programme has gone some way in showcasing what the NHS can do to promote sustainability and to make NHS buildings better places to work and treat patients. By learning from good practice across the health and public sectors, all NHS organisations can work towards creating a healthier, more sustainable future for the communities it serves. I'm Georgina Burnett and you've been watching Building a Sustainable NHS. Good build, good healthcare.